Thank you, Pia. Thanks so much for putting this together. And thanks, John and Mary, for being here. I really look forward to this conversation. And Pia, thanks for all that you're doing with the Global Institute of Church Management. Since we did the simulcast worldwide launch right at the end of June, on June 30th, with that message from Cardinal Pell, things have been moving quickly despite the difficulties that we've had with the pandemic, with COVID and so forth. So congratulations, Pia, for keeping things moving ahead in a way that's so important, because to serve the church and to bring about this renewal and this reform of the church, which is coming directly from the request from Pope Francis. And so many bishops are asking us to provide this formation, which entails really developing new curriculum oftentimes. And that's part of the purpose of this webinar, which is to reflect about how the church can look in a detailed, let's say, even legal, financial, and management organizational way as we move forward. I mentioned that this is in accord with the specific request of Pope Francis. I had the blessing to meet with him personally as we were about to launch the program of church management in Rome. And he encouraged us, he said, avanti così. Così avanti, to go ahead just as we were doing, to make it so that the church might really be a poor church for the poor. And of course, what this means is that not only do we serve the poor by offering help to those who are marginalized somehow, and when I say somehow, it's not just a kind of financial poverty, but also a poverty with respect to their formation in the principles of the faith, but that the church also be more effective in bringing about her mission of evangelization. Now, this is exactly the way Pope Francis began his pontificate, his Petrine ministry. And it's clear that it was for this very reason that the College of Cardinals elected Jorge Mario Bergoglio to lead the church as Bishop of Rome. He said that the church must be creative in seeking, this was right at the beginning of his Petrine ministry, so the church must be creative in seeking new ways. He said, that is, seeking how best to proclaim the gospel. And that the church and also the Code of Canon Law gives us, as Pia mentioned, innumerable possibilities, much freedom to seek these things. There's a recent document that one of our participants reminded me about that was published by the Congregation for the Clergy just at the end of June. It was signed by Pope Francis at the end of June. The date of it when it was released was in July 20th, and it's called The Pastoral Conversion of the Parish Community in Service of the Evangelizing Mission of the Church. Those are a lot of words, but pastoral conversion really means renewal, reform. It means transformation of the parish. And all of us know the parish. It's where most of us, I imagine, were baptized for many of us as infants. For many of us, it's the home of the church where we receive most of our formation. And for the program of church management and Global Institute of Church Management, the parish is the paradigm, really the locus of much of our attention, because if something for reform and renewal of the church is going to be effective, it will be effective at the parish level. So when we are considering Episcopal conferences, we're considering Catholic universities, schools, hospitals, diocesan organizations, it's really the parish that if we can transform the parish so that it is more effective, bring about renewal in the parish, that those same principles and many of the technical solutions will be applicable also in those other institutions of the church. It's for this reason that in the program of church management, the cases and the examples that we use really privilege the parish community. And at the same time, or I should say precisely for that reason, our students or participants have already found this to be really helpful. I'm thinking, for instance, of a man by the name of Eric, who's an administrator of a Catholic hospital in Pakistan, and he's a layman, and he has found this kind of exemplification of how we can renew the church to promote transparency and effective organizations to be very helpful in his work as the administrator of a Catholic hospital in Pakistan, where he's dealing with all kinds of challenges you can imagine with COVID and with the Catholics, Christians being such a slim minority in a really Muslim nation. So given this, in my inaugural lecture that I offered to the third cohort for the program of church management back in February of this year, which is entitled A Theological Framework for Church Management, I propose, in a sense, it's a simple idea, but it's for some it's revolutionary, and it's not my idea. It's an idea that is proposed by Vatican II. And it's an idea that really has been present since, of course, our Lord Jesus Christ came to found the church 2,000 years ago. And it's an idea that John Paul II has also enunciated, and we can find constantly in the teaching of Benedict XVI and in Pope Francis. And yet, unfortunately, many people misunderstand it, or they simply miss this idea and its importance. Even though it's been around for 2,000 years, it's in a sense, it's revolutionary. For many people, when we think about the church, we think about bishops, priests, the hierarchy, buildings, when what the church understands herself is very different from that. The church is each of us, the baptized, it's especially the lay people. So it's really families are the church. And that doesn't mean they're church when they go to the church building, but that they're church when they're going about their family life, when they're in the workplace and so forth, when they're out in the world. Now, this is explicit teaching of the church. And therefore, what it entails is that the ordained ministers who, like myself and those who have the fullness of the priesthood in with the episcopal ministry, that these ordained ministers, of course, exercise a special function of governance, but that function of governance is one of service, to the point that if you think of the hierarchy in the church like a pyramid, in a sense with the Pope on top, and you can think of the church, and we should think of the church as a very lean organization, because there are very few levels of administration and of management. It's really the Pope, bishops, and then what? Then it's like each of us, the lay faithful. So for many of us, if we could do the steps in order to reach the Pope, how many levels of managerial structure or of hierarchy? Depending on how you count, it's like 3, maybe 5 at the most. If you want to include the College of Cardinals or offices in the Holy See, it might be 6 or 7. And for an organization that has over 1 billion members, this is quite amazing. What I'm proposing is, if the hierarchical structure of the church is a pyramid like this, I'm proposing that we need to think of this pyramid as inverted, turned upside down, because each of us as baptized, so all of the lay faithful, are in fact charged directly by Jesus Christ, empowered, delegated, in order to have responsibility for the church. Now, this can be a revolutionary mindset, and again, it's Vatican II, it's John Paul II, and this should illuminate how we think about all church organizations, and especially the parish. So we consider the parish, and here my time has almost run out, but let me just make a quick suggestion regarding what could be the implications regarding this. And the implications are ones of transparency and cooperation of the lay faithful, whereby this doesn't supplant the role of the pastor, who is an ordained priest, and he is appointed by the bishop. This is, of course, in agreement with Catholic theology, and it's enunciated in law by canon law. And it's a way of safeguarding the ecclesial mission of the church, because the bishop, who's normally appointed by the Pope, and he appoints the pastor of the parish, and this secures the continuity with apostolic tradition and with Jesus himself. And yet there are different models by which the laity can participate in that governance of the parish. One way, which is already very much underway in many places, is through very active role of the parish council, the financial council of the parish. But there are ways of structuring this in a way that can be more effective. And it can also entail expanding in a creative way the incorporations that are recognized under civil law that support the parish and also support the parish financially in such a way that the laity who are professionals, can really take charge not of ecclesial goods, but take charge of some of those goods that the lay faithful want to contribute to various activities that are in support of the church. Because it's always the bishop and the pastor of the parish who are directly responsible for ecclesial goods. But what I'm suggesting, and we should have more time to discuss this further on in this webinar, is that there are ways of structuring under both canon law and civil law, whereby respecting the authority of the bishop and of the pastor of the parish, lay people can have a more active role of governance. And of course, this will lead to greater transparency. So I'll end my words there now, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.